Let's get cozy, shall we? I'm in a cozy mood, so I've got my blanket here, I got my water here, I got my reading journal here, I got the books that I've read here. So let's get into it. I felt like I was in a reading slump. I felt like I wasn't gonna do as good numbers-wise when it came to like how many books I've read, just because I've felt so out of it. Here I am thinking all of this, and I read 20 books. 20 books. So that is like way more than usual. I mean, you really never know. I don't want it to seem like people have to read a whole bunch of books in order for them to be whatever. It's typical for me to be reading books in like 2 to 3 days. It shouldn't usually take me 5 days to read a book. So I have 20 books to chat about. So with that, let's get into it. The beginning of this month, I did my 24-hour reading challenge. If you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. I fail, so that's what happens there. The first book that I read during that was A Dawn of Onyx by Kate Golden. I ended up giving that just 3 stars. I thought it was good. I thought it was good for what it was. I'll be honest with you, I don't remember too much about it. It's a fantasy romance. It's on Kindle Unlimited, so if you want to read it, you can. It's kind of one of those just like basic fantasy books that you read that like it's okay, but it's not like the most amazing thing ever. I want to say I'd seen a lot of people talking about it, so I just want to check it out. And really, like, it's good. I know a lot of people were giving it like 5 stars and really hyping it up, but in my mind, I think it's fine. I think it's good. I think it's fine. Some like plot points of it that were very kind of confusing and a little bit dumb from what I remember, but I remember like certain aspects of it, like I was like, okay, this feels like more well done though. Like it doesn't feel as rushed. It feels a bit more purposeful, and that's what I look for in books. I don't know. I guess I would recommend, if you are a person who really enjoys fantasy romance, go check this one out. It's not spicy, or at least it's not very spicy. So if you're looking for a spicy one, maybe not this one. It could potentially get spicier. I'm not sure. But anyways, the next book that I read is A River of Silver by Shannon Chakraborty. I ended up giving this one 4 stars. This is a continuation book of the Daevabad trilogy. If you haven't read them, go read them. I'm going to say that every single time. Like, this is basically a Daevabad fan channel. If it weren't for the last few chapters with some of my most beloved characters, I probably would just give it a 3 star, but because I had those chapters at the end, I gave it a 4. If you love the Daevabad trilogy, go pick this one up. I think it's worth it. The next book that I read is Misfit by Elle Kennedy. This one I only gave 2 stars. It is a contemporary romance. It's about this boy who goes to school at this all-boys prep school, the headmaster's daughter, and they're not supposed to interact, but they do, and they fall in love, and yada, yada, yada. I absolutely love Elle Kennedy's off-campus series, but the rest of her series, I'm not a huge fan of, including this one. To me, I think she was just trying to do too much in it. There were too many points of views and just not enough connection between the 2 main characters. So it just felt rushed. It just wasn't enough. So I only gave it 2 stars. I wouldn't recommend. Sorry, but I wouldn't. The next book that I read is also in that vlog, Kingdom of Villains by Ella Fields. This was actually an accidental reread, and I gotta say, I did enjoy it as a reread. It is a adult fantasy romance. I gave it 3 stars. There's a little bit of spice to it, not a ton. It was good. It's a standalone, so don't expect like tons of world building or lots of like extra fluff to it. If you are looking for something that centers more around a relationship than like any of the other aspects, I would recommend it. It's weird. As a reread, I liked it more than the first time I read it. It is very predictable, but I did enjoy like the chemistry between the 2 main characters. So So I enjoyed it. It was fine. It was good. It got me through the rest of my 24-hour reading blog, and that's all I wanted. The next 2 books that I read, Daisy Haites and Daisy Haites The Great Unbecoming by Jessa Hastings. I made a super long video talking through the entire plot of Daisy Haites. If you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. I didn't necessarily want to read them. Okay, this is what I'll say. They are entertaining. However, I got so frustrated by all the characters, and I got so frustrated by the plot that just felt like the same thing kept on happening over and over again, just a different variation. I understand the people who really enjoy it. I think Jessa's writing is very beautiful. It's just the characters themselves and the plot and the fact that we just keep going through the same thing over and over and over again. It's a very strong will they, won't they. And one of the things that I said in one of my videos is that it's basically the 3rd act miscommunication trope, but it's 2 full books of it. And I don't know about y'all, but I hate that. I hate that trope. Everything would be fixed if they just had like a rational 20-minute conversation. I'm not even kidding. So for that, I gave them both 3 stars. The entertainment factor, the writing style I really liked, but then the characters themselves, and then just my frustration. No. If you enjoy the 3rd act miscommunication trope, I would recommend these. But other than that, I wouldn't necessarily recommend them. I would say just watch my video about Daisy Haites. Okay. The next book that I read is The Sister Between Us by Hailey Dickert. She is a debut author. It is a new adult romance. It was good. You can definitely tell that it is a new author. There are some things that need to be worked out and finessed in her writing style, just like any debut author. So I ended up giving it 3 stars. I think it was a cute, fluffy read. What I think could be worked on though with it is more in-depth character stories that make them a bit more complex, because this is a contemporary romance, so it's not like you're world building, it's not like you're trying to create a magic system. For me, I just feel like some weird outside plot stuff just kept on getting in the way that I was like, okay, what was the point of even having that? I would recommend if you like fluffy, sweet, contemporary romance reads, but it is available on Kindle Unlimited, and I love new authors, so maybe go give it a read if you feel so inclined. It would be a good summer beach read. So with summer coming around, do it. Go get it. The next 2 books I am also going to put together because they are part of a series. And the first one is A Kingdom of Fire and Fury, and the second one is A Kingdom of Frost and Fear by Whitney Dean. This is a adult romance fantasy series. Honestly, don't remember too much about these 2 books. All I remember is the spice. The spice was just, it was a lot. For me, books can have too much spice. I know some people don't think that, but for me, it was definitely all spice, 0 plot. Once you just have characters that are consistently and constantly acting on like those baser instincts, always, it just loses the tension that you want in a book. Every single chapter, there was like, that's all it was. And so I ended up recommending it to a friend who I know enjoys spice. And so I'll be interested to see what she thinks about it. But for me, I was not a fan. I gave them both 2 stars. I mean, if you like spice, read it, but honestly, you can skip it. There's not much there. The next book that I read was during my thrillers video, and the first one was Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. If you want a more in-depth review on some of these thrillers, go check out that video. I ended up giving this 4 stars. I really did enjoy it. I feel like the entertainment factor was there. It's very much an edge of your seat thriller. I know that this one is super popular, and it's popular for a reason. I think a lot of people would really enjoy this one. The only thing that I have issue with when it comes to Alice Feeney's writing is that sometimes it feels like she gives up the plot for the sake of a plot twist. And I'm not as into that. I really like a really good solid motive and a really good solid plot. And for me, I just feel like that was given up for the sake of, oh, wow, I didn't see that coming. Yeah, probably not, because it doesn't really make sense. I did still really enjoy it. I think the storyline was interesting, and I think it made more sense than some of her other storylines have. I think most people, if not all people, would really enjoy this book. Maybe not a 5 stars, but would really enjoy this book. So the next book that I read is A Flicker in the Dark by Stacy Willingham. This is more of like a true crime thriller. I did really enjoy the story in this. It's something that a lot of women deal with, like the different things that happen in this book and the way that the main character thinks in this book. And so I don't know, this book just feels very important, even though it's a thriller and like it's supposed to have that entertainment factor. I will say I knew pretty early on what the twist was going to be, but there were a few other little twists that I didn't see coming, and I really liked those. I liked them for the storyline, I liked them for the character. Definitely like more of my favorite type of thriller. I like a more true crime, really good storyline, really good characters type of thriller, and that's what this one was. So I would definitely recommend this one. The next book was my book of the month pick, The Only Survivors by Megan Miranda. I was expecting good things from this. I was hoping for kind of one of those slasher, I know what you did last summer type things. And so I was expecting good things from this. And it didn't really give that. The vibes and the atmosphere of it was really great. I really enjoyed the setting that they were in. It felt very ominous, but other than that, the plot and the characters just weren't that interesting. Like the majority of the plot is just them having weird conversations with each other. And then when it came down to the twist, it just didn't feel that strong. There was one twist at the very end that I really liked, that I was like, okay, this makes sense. I really like it. It's very strong. I didn't see it coming. So I liked that, but for the most part, I wasn't super into it. I ended up giving it a 3 stars. I think it was good enough. But if you want like a really, really good thriller, one that'll keep you on the edge of your seat, I wouldn't recommend this one. Do with that what you will. The next book that I read is one that just came out this past month, and it is The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King by Carissa Broadbent. I will say I didn't like this one as much as I liked the first one. I just feel like the plot in the first one and the action in it was just a lot more compelling than this one. She was just kind of plopping in plot points again that just didn't feel very finessed. But I still really enjoyed it. I still really enjoy Carissa's writing style, the continuation story of Aurora and Rain. If you like fantasy romance, I definitely recommend these. I think that they're really, really good. People compare it to ACOTAR. It's nothing like ACOTAR. It's its own thing, and I think it's really good. So highly recommend these two if you really like it. I'm interested to see where she goes with the storyline. I ended up giving it 3.5 stars. I just don't feel like the plot was as solid as the first book, but it's still good. I still recommend the series. So if you like fantasy romance with really solid writing, really solid plot, really solid balance, as far as like the pacing, characters, the plot, I definitely recommend this one. So the next 2 books I am going to do together, and the first one is Trial of the Sun. The second one is Rule of the Aurora King by Nisha Tuli. I had seen Trial of the Sun Queen all over the place, and when I saw it on Kindle Unlimited, I was like, okay, I'll give this a shot. Like, seems like a book everyone is really liking. And so I gave it a shot, and I did not like it at all. And you may be thinking, okay, why did you read the second book? It's because the end of the first book, I just knew that the second book was going to be better, which it was. I feel like the first book was just a setup for the second book. I did not like. I feel like the first book could have just been a prequel and we could have just gotten straight into the second book. Like, I understand we needed to know some of this information, but it just felt very elementary to me. I just felt a little bit pointless. But the second book started to pick up a little bit. Not enough to where I would necessarily recommend the series. I definitely think you could skip it. I don't think that the characters are super compelling, and I just don't think that the plot is super solid. I think it's kind of wishy-washy. I gave the first book 1 star, and then the second book, though, I gave 3 stars. Just because I saw a massive improvement in the second book, which maybe the third book will be even better. I just don't think that I necessarily want to read it. To each their own, but I think I'm done with that series, and in my opinion, I think you could skip it. The next book that I read, which is a reread, and it is Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. Go check out my full review on this book if you haven't. I ended up giving it 3.5 stars, which is a bit harsh for a debut novel because this is Miss Sarah's debut novel. I think a final rating I would give it is 4 stars, just because for me, this book just means so much, and I think it's okay with rereads for you to rate them a bit more based off of nostalgia and just the feeling that you know the rest of the series is going to give you. And so because of that, I'm going to rate it higher, but if I just read it, I would probably give it 3.5 stars. If you want to, again, join me for my reread, go check it out on my Instagram. I made a order of all the books that I am going to be reading to get to Crescent City 3. So go check that out. Reread with me to CC3. Let's go. Let's get it trending. Just kidding. 3.5 stars. Highly recommend this series. The next book that I read, I'm not going to talk too much about because I'm going to be coming out with a video soon where it's involved. I don't even know if I want to give you too much about it or even like my official rating yet. I read 5 Survive by Holly Jackson, and I'll just say I enjoyed it. You're just going to have to wait for my review in my next video. So be on the lookout for that, but I enjoyed it. The next book I actually listened to on audiobook, and it is What Lies in the Woods by Kate Alice Marshall. And I really enjoyed this book. I ended up giving it 4.5 stars. Yeah, 4.5 stars. I think it had like a good mix of true crime aspect to it, believability, plot, while also having some good twists in there. Some good twists that would happen throughout the book. It was really fun to read. I was super creeped out by the end of it. Even though I predicted what was going to end or how it was going to end. And I predicted it like very early on. I was like, oh, I bet you I know exactly. Because I want to say this reminded me of a true crime that I have actually like heard about and like listened to. And so I was like, I wonder if it's going to end exactly how that case ended. And it did for the most part. I thought it was very good. I enjoyed the characters. I enjoyed the storyline. I will say, the main character did a really dumb thing towards the end, and I was so frustrated with her. I was like, why would you do that? It felt like another like dumb main female character in a slasher movie type situation. I was like, why would you be doing it? Why would you do this right now? But other than that, I think it was really good. I enjoyed it. Would recommend. To me, it was just a really, really good thriller. Hi, Clark. Clark is moving around. I wonder if he's gonna... Nope, he's not. He's gonna lay behind the bed. The next book that I read, that I finished, is A Kingdom of Stars and Shadow by Holly Renee. This is another fantasy romance. It is on Kindle Unlimited. I would say it's good. I am currently reading the second book, and it's getting to a point where, kind of like Whitney Dean's books, it's getting a little bit to where it just feels like it's all spice, no plot. The first one I feel like was really good in the sense of I feel like the tension between the two main characters were really good. I really liked the storyline of it. I think it's a different take. I feel like the writing style was fairly decent. Is it the best book ever? No. But again, if you are a person who really enjoys fantasy romance, I would recommend it. I gave it 3 stars. do with that what you will. And then the last book is another book that I am going to be doing for a reading vlog coming up. So I'm not going to talk too much about it. I'm not going to say what my rating is, but it is We Hunt the Flame by Hafsah Faizal. This is a YA fantasy, and I think it's good. That is all I'll say about it. But to get my full review, you're gonna have to wait for my next video, or maybe my next video is out and you're gonna have to go find it. I'll leave the link once it's out in the description if you want to go listen to the review of this. Okay? Okay. And with that is it. We did it. We got through. I feel like I'm getting better at doing quick reviews of these. Like I gotta learn how to like get through them just a bit faster, or else my throat is going to be shot and I'm going to be here all day just talking about these books, which I would love to do, but you know, I've got the rest of my life to be living. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being a part of this month's wrap up. I truly appreciate everyone who watches. Let me know what your favorite book that you read this month was. If you've read any of these books, your thoughts and opinions on them, would love to hear. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you all again soon. Bye!